Hello, welcome. This is Griffin Baptist Church. We're making connections while we're going through this coronavirus thing right now. And I've got with me Nathan Tackett, and just want to introduce him to you, let you know who he is. He's new to Griffin Baptist Church, and I invited him to kind of connect with me this morning, and also to connect with you, and just let you know what some of our members are doing during this time of being away from church and being away from we're still the church, but we're not connecting and worship and gathering together for worship. And so I wanted to take a moment and just introduce Nathan and allow him to tell you a little bit about himself. Thank you for joining me this morning, Nathan. Appreciate that.
I'm glad to be here.
Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, again, my name is Nathan Taggett. My wife and I, Sarah, moved to the Lakeland area about 10 years ago from the Northern Virginia area. We've been married for 32 years, and we moved down here, moved to the Cypress Lakes area, the Cypress Lakes community right there on 98, and we moved down here where we early retired on medical, and moved down here, and we liked the Lakeland area. My wife, she'd always wanted to move to Florida, so once we retired, she said, let's go ahead and move to Florida. So here we are. Moved down, and we were looking for a church a short period ago, and that's searching around, and I felt the Lord talking to me about Griffin. Mm-hmm. And I was telling you the story. I was actually sitting watching a football game, and I felt the Lord tugging on me and saying, go to Griffin. And I looked it up on the internet and found out they do have, evening services. And I thought, well, I'll go next week. I'll go on a Sunday morning service, because that's typically when people go and visit the church. It'd be on a Sunday morning service. But a few minutes later, I felt the Lord tugging at me and said, tonight. Well, I don't know about you, but when my parents got to number 3, that was bad news. So I didn't want God to hit me on the third time. So I turned that football game off, and I came to church. And my whole thought was to come in here and slide into a back pew and just to check that box off and say, I at least came and visited this church. Mm-hmm. But that's the last thing that was on God's mind, because when I come in that door back here, first person I saw was you. And you greeted me with a very big old smile and a handshake, and then another person greeted me and handed me a visitor's card. And I've been to some churches and never even had a visitor card put in my hand. Mm-hmm. They didn't even know I was even there. Oh, fantastic. And this church greeted me with open arms and handshakes and hugs, and I was like, wow, and been that way ever since.
Yeah. You came and got involved in the choir, and you've been involved in Sunday school class, and involved in our prayer group on Monday nights as well.
Well, that's one thing that I've learned over the years. I felt the call in the ministry, and through the years, one thing that I look for in a church is a strong prayer ministry. And from day one, when I started looking at this church, is this church moves with prayer. And you invited me to it was David Two's group back here. And he was so strong on prayer. You mentioned that Monday evening's prayer group. And it so impressed me about how committed to prayer. And so I got involved in that prayer group on Mondays. And just how committed to prayer this church is. And I was like, I need to be involved in this church. And every group I get involved in, prayer is a big group. Even the music ministry, prayer, opening prayer, you know, everything that Seth does, prayer. And through the years, I've seen that God moves when a church family prays. And it's so important that the church family realizes that Jeremiah 33:3 is absolutely spot on, that when you go to him in prayer, things happen. And it did not take me long to realize that this church is a praying church. And it didn't take me long for God to tug at my heart to get involved, to join here, and to become part of this ministry. And I am glad to say it. I'm part of this group, and I asked you to work with me and mentor me and to become part here. And I am, you know, learning a lot through, you know, working with you, and I've grown a lot in the short period of time that I've been here. You know, when I'm not here amongst my family, and it didn't take me long to associate myself in a family here. I miss it. There's something missing when I'm not here amongst my family. And that's the hardest part of this coronavirus, COVID-19, is not being a part, not feeling the closeness. It's, you know, it's just sitting at home, and I've been, you know, dealing with separation with my wife. She's in rehab, so I'm apart from her, and then being a part of my church family. It's been kind of difficult.
Cool. Well, I'm so glad you're a part of our church family, and you know that we pray for you, and you are away from your wife right now. So you cannot have access to her, being where she's at right now, and that makes it very difficult. Is there anything else you're doing right now that help you work through this time away from our church family? I miss them too, by the way. I miss our getting together for worship and for Bible study and so forth. And so it is a difficult adjustment for myself and for many.
Well, you know, I take and with my Bible study and reading, you've got me into reading books. I was never really a strong reader, but you've been giving me these books to read, so I've been doing quite a bit of reading. Got into riding a bike again. As long as I don't stand still with the bike, I'm doing pretty good. But you know, doing exercising, and just FaceTiming a lot with my wife, and just, you know, just doing a lot of praying and staying close to the Lord, and going through the directory and praying one-on-one for each one of the family members here.
Well, that is awesome. Yeah. Thank you so much for joining us during this time, and glad I could have this little discussion with Nathan. I hope that gives you a little insight about who he is. And by the way, you can join us for Facebook Live at 11 o'clock on Sunday mornings right now while we're going through this. Also, you can find all these recordings of our services on YouTube now. And our website has had a facelift, and I encourage you to check that out at www.griffinbaptistchurch.org and check out some of the pictures and different things that have been added to that. I believe you'll find it to be a blessing. You can find connections there or links that will take you to the Facebook and the YouTube. And thank you, and God bless.